Hey everybody, I'm here with today's Read Aloud, and much like the other books, it has a picture of something on the front and the arrows for the life cycle. It's about a frog's life cycle. Miss Marlene loves frogs. I think they're completely and utterly cute. They're one of my favorite animals. This is by Mary R. Dunn again, so I'm thinking she must have done most of the books for this series. So let's read and find out what we're going to learn about a frog. Sorry, I'm trying to put a pillow behind my back because it's a little short and I'm trying to sit up better. Okay, so I'm going to open the book up and I bet you there's going to be a table of contents. Let's see. Let's see. A table of contents. Yep, there it is, the table of contents. It's got eggs in the pond on page 4, growing tadpoles on page 8, frisky froglets on page 14, adult frogs on page 18, and then it has, of course, the glossary, the read more, the internet sites, the some questions, some critical thinking questions, and in the index. So we're gonna get to reading. I wonder what we're gonna learn about frogs today. Do you have any questions about frogs? Is there anything that you'd like to know about frogs? Hopefully they'll be answered by this book. Eggs in the pond. Many kinds of frogs live around the world. Frogs are amphibians. They can live in water and on land. That's what amphibian means. It's an animal that lives in the water and on land. All frogs have, this page wants to fall, the same life cycle. So no matter what kind of frog it is, it goes through the same stages or cycles that other frogs go through. So this is page 4, and there's a picture on page 5 of the frog, and that's a brown frog. I know a lot of times we try to just draw frogs green, but frogs come in all sorts of colors. So wood frogs live in wetlands. A wetland is when there's like swamps and stuff in the woods and ponds. In spring, females lay eggs. Females, remember, are women or girls, and they lay their eggs in water. A thick, clean jelly holds the eggs together. Tadpoles grow inside. So here is a picture of the eggs. They look kind of gross, and I bet they feel pretty slimy, but they're in the water. And you can see the little froglet or tadpole or whatever you want to call it inside. Growing tadpoles. Tadpoles hatch from the eggs in about 14 days. That's 2 weeks, guys. Or 14 home days, but that's what 14 days is. Using their long tails, they swim around the pond. Tadpoles eat algae and grow fast. So here's a tadpole. It kind of looks like a fish. And if you can see, this one looks like it's just starting to get legs, but probably not using them. So it has a tail and it looks like a fish. And algae is the green stuff that you see grow in water. A lot of times if you have a little pool outside or like a bird pond outside, you'll see the algae grow. And if you have a fish tank at home, I bet it gets algae in it. A tadpole's body goes through many changes. First, it grows back legs. So it grows the legs in the back. That's what happens first. Then lungs take the place of gills. So inside humans, we have these sacs that help us breathe. They're called lungs. In a fish, they have something called gills, which is usually like a little slit on the side of the fish. So that's what a tadpole has at first, and then it gets lungs, like we have. The tadpoles can now breathe out of water. So when you have a gill, the only thing you can do is breathe inside the water. You cannot breathe on land, you'll die. But when you have lungs, you can breathe on land. So we saw the little legs on the other page, but on page 11, you can see that the back legs are growing, and it still has a tail. I wonder what's going to happen next to this tadpole. Wonder what changes we're going to see. Next, the tadpole begins to grow front legs. Its tail gets shorter and shorter. The tadpoles become a froglet. So when it starts to grow its front legs, see right there, now it's starting to look more like a frog instead of a fish. And the tail is getting a lot shorter, and the legs are getting stronger and bigger. And now it's called a froglet. Can you say that word? Froglet. So on page 14, we're going to read about frisky froglets. They both start with the F sound. Frisky and froglets. A froglet spends time in water and on land. It uses its new legs to search for food. The froglet hops in the woods looking for insects. Do you know what frisky means? It means playful. So sometimes you might call a kitten frisky, or even a dog, or even a puppy. It means it's playful. So this frog must be playful. So now it can hop on land. And it looks more like a frog, but look, it still has a little bit of a tail. So it's searching for food. Wonder if it's playful. I wonder why they call them frisky. Let's see if it says anything about playing. After about 4 months, a froglet fully loses its tail. So in 2 weeks, it becomes a tadpole. And then after it becomes a froglet, it's about 4 months before it's a full true frog. It in 4 months is 120 days. That's a lot of days, guys. It becomes an adult frog. Wood frogs live for 3 or 4 years. So this whole frog's life is as old as you are. That's all it gets is 4 years. So it's losing its tail. It kind of looks like a little hippo with a tail. Let's see what happens on page 18. Adult frogs on page 18. Adult wood frogs are tan or brown. In the fall, they crawl under leaves. During winter, frogs freeze as hard as ice cubes. Wow, I didn't know that. That's new information. Their hearts stop beating. Wow, so look at that brown frog. It's almost reddish though. I wonder if it's that color to match the trees so that the predators can't find it and eat it. But wow, did you hear that, guys? It freezes hard like an ice cube, and its heart stops beating. I wonder how it stays alive. Let's see if they don't really tell us, it looks like, but 20. In spring, wood frogs thaw. That means they're not icy anymore. They hop into ponds. Males, so the boy frogs, croak mating calls to females. So that means they're singing to the females to say, come be my boyfriend, or my girlfriend. So the boys are calling to the girls saying, come be my girlfriend. The life cycle of a frog begins again. And they get married and they have babies. So there's the frog after it's thawed out. Wow, so we learned something new about frogs today, or at least I did. Maybe you knew that, but I didn't. So here's the glossary of the words, and it tells us about algae, small plants without roots or stems that grow in water, an amphibian, an animal that lives on water and on land, freeze to become solid or icy to a very low temperature. Froglet, a tiny frog that has recently developed from a tadpole. Gill, body part used to breathe underwater. Lung, body part used to breathe air. So I guess that means if you live in the air, you have lungs. And if you live in water, you have gills. Mate, to join together or produce babies. Thaw, to become unfrozen. And then here's some stuff about reading more about frogs and learning more. And then there's some questions. I'm going to read them on the back on page 24. Let me show you the page number. 24. It has critical thinking questions. Why are dead leaves a good place for wood frogs to stay in fall and winter? So why do you think that's a good place for them to stay? I want you to think about it and maybe tell your family member that you're with right now. And what are the favorite foods of tadpoles and frogs? I'm going to go back because you know what? We read it, but I don't remember it. So I'm going to go back to the pages that talk about the food. Let's see. Page 8, it says that it talks about what a tadpole likes to eat. Now, page 8, it was algae, I believe. The tadpoles like to eat algae. I do remember that one. Yep, they eat algae. And then on page 12, it tells us what frogs like to eat. And frogs, oh wait, not page, maybe 14. You know what? It eats insects. Frogs eat insects. I did know that, but it just wouldn't come in my brain. Like I couldn't find it in my brain. So when it's a tadpole, it eats algae, and when it's a frog, it eats insects. So I hope you liked the book today. Is it 2 thumbs up, thumbs down, or one of each? Tell somebody something new you learned about frogs. I'm going to go tell my son that I learned that they freeze in winter and that their heart stops beating. Bye, guys.